I've seen some wild claims, but thankfully, because there was a policy in place, and I'm talking claims that are over hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages that people probably would have been struggling out to this day if they didn't have a policy to help them with it.
We document and share best practices around owning, operating, and managing world-class wedding venues.
Mitchell, welcome to the Venue RX podcast. Thank you so much for being here on the show today. I'm excited to talk. We're talking insurance today, right?
Yes, quite the topic. Very excited, and thank you for having me here. Big piece in events and venues and all things with that. So I'm happy to share some wisdom on that today.
Definitely. I'm excited to talk about this. I think insurance in general maybe is not the top of anyone's list in terms of like exciting things to talk about, but it is such a crucial piece of business, especially in this industry, because people are constantly hosting hundreds of people on their properties. And so, we got to make sure we're covered.
Absolutely.
So yeah, could you though, before we jump into talking about Indemn and just your platform and what you're doing in the industry, can you give us a little bit of a personal and professional background on how you got into this and kind of maybe what you were doing even leading up to starting this?
Of course. Yeah. So again, my name's Mitchell Busse. I've been in the insurance industry for going over 8 years now. I started with a company by the name of Markel. So those of you that maybe are a little bit in the space of insurance or have paid attention to it, they are one of the leading companies in event insurance. That's kind of where I got started. But over my 8 years, I've worked with a lot of products. So I have a good knowledge overall of just insurance acumen in general. But I did focus on event insurance pretty much that entire time. But then for the past year, a year ago, I joined the Indemn team, and we're exclusively focusing on event insurance. And with all of that time, I've realized the benefits that these policies bring, the importance that they do, and quite frankly, how cost effective they are as well. And throughout this time, one of the things that I've noticed is just kind of the lack of education behind insurance. I think that's the biggest missing link when it comes to insurance, is not enough people just understand fully what it does, what it costs, what it can fully do for you. And at Indemn, that's our goal. Our platform specifically is a chat style platform where users are able to ask questions and learn about insurance, ultimately, providing better knowledge, better understanding, and getting that protection that's needed for such an important aspect of people's lives.
Totally. I'm curious. There's definitely a nod towards AI on the site.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, there is. And so that's kind of the unique part. We're one of the first of its kind for insurance platforms. Everyone, when you think of insurance, think of old applications, web-based forms that are boring. And we're getting rid of that. We want something fresh, something new. And so, yes, we incorporate AI. And the nice part about it, one of the things that I talk about learning about insurance is you can go to our platform and you can ask a question, ask any question. Is this covered? Is that covered? What does this get me? You'll get an answer in seconds. And thankfully, because of AI, chat GPT, and large language models like that, we're able to provide that kind of service. If you go to any other like insurance website or things like that, you want to ask questions, it's kind of difficult to find those answers without picking up the phone, sitting on hold, maybe sending an email, things like that. All that delay, people nowadays, they want answers right away, right? And so thankfully, we're able to give that service to our users immediately with AI.
So I'm curious about that a little bit more. How do you make sure that that AI, that LLM is giving, large language model is giving accurate responses? Because as I use ChatGPT a ton, and even GPT-4, sometimes it gives you results that, need to be tweaked or whatever for accuracy. So how are you guys making sure that, it's spitting out accurate information? Exactly.
No, that's a great question. And I will say a lot of trial and error. Our company's been around for going over 3 years now. And it definitely was not as smooth in the beginning. But AI and ChatGPT and those technologies, they've advanced a ton since then. But really what it comes down to is behind the scenes, with people like myself and our other team members that have a knowledge and understanding of how all these products work. We basically kind of prompt what our bot and AI responses will respond with. So if someone asks a question like, what does liability coverage include? We've already prompted behind the scenes a general parameter of like, these are the things it covers, these are the things it doesn't cover. And then thankfully with the technology that AI and ChatGPT has, it can tailor it specifically in a more conversational type style. And so we've spent our time and our knowledge and expertise building up those prompts so that when the time comes, it can pull from those and then give a fluid response back to the user.
Got it. That's very cool. That's very, because
interesting.
To your point, it's tough to have to pick up the phone and some of these questions come up, they're keeping people awake at night. It's 11 midnight, depending on what time zone you're in. And it's like, you kind of want some of those answers, or at least a beginning place to start doing your research on stuff.
Exactly.
Tell me about Indemn, and I'd love to kind of peel back some of the layers into what insurance actually does for venue owners. I think everyone knows that it's important kind of from this high level perspective, but I'd love to take it from the high level and get it really down in the dirt and talk about practical applications of how this impacts people on a weekly basis at events.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started, our first trajectory was just reaching out to general consumer base of couples and event hosts to get their policies. But what we found, and actually my entire time this past year working with Indemn, the focus has been partnering with venues because we realized there's kind of two aspects when it comes to venues and insurance. The first one is, quite honestly, a lot of venues either don't realize what event insurance is or don't understand what it is, and therefore they don't have a procedure in place for it. They don't require it, which quite frankly is a huge protection plan for venues that's very simple to do. Then the other half of it is the accessibility to it. So sure, maybe venue owners do require insurance or know to an extent what event insurance is, but they don't have a good procedure in place. And so yes, they say they require it, but then do they know fully what they're getting, and are the policies that they're getting sufficient? Do they have a good way to track it? Because if you require it, but you don't take that next step to confirm everything, what's the benefit of that process then? And so we help that. We automate the process with our platform. We make that easier for venues. Also, venue owners, they're not insurance professionals, so they get asked questions from their couples, from their hosts saying, hey, you require insurance. Why? What is it? Why do I need it? What am I getting from it? And they don't always have the answers for it. But thankfully, our platform can then help their guests as well. So, hey, no worries. We have a solution. Go check here, answer all those questions. And so we partner with venues. So like I said, make that process easier and hopefully just kind of stress the importance of how crucial it can be to a venue's business plan to make sure that, they're well protected.
Totally. What people are paying for is the protection in case of some sort of liability, some sort of, risk and exposure to risk, which, there's plenty depending on the type of venue that you have. What are the things that you're seeing are claims that are being made?
Absolutely.
Basically, here's the most common area of exposure for venue owners.
Yeah, and I'll take one step back. So you highlighted one, which is the most common piece. Liability insurance is what majority of venues, when they require that's the policy that they require, which protects against injuries or damages that might happen. There is another half, and I'll talk about this too. It's becoming a little bit more common. It's starting to trend up a little bit, and that's cancellation insurance, which it's insurance for the host, for the couples, to reimburse them if their event or wedding is canceled or postponed due to something unforeseen. They can get their non-refundable deposits back, which is also a big benefit to venues too. And, we'll get into that first, but we'll talk most common is liability insurance. It's, again, injury or damage that happens at the event. And I think most of us can agree that any wedding or party probably will have alcohol present. And these policies include liquor liability. So if something is resulting from somebody drinking, that can be covered. But it's those slip and falls. Something happens, some host set up decorations that people trip over, things like that. Those are protected. And then damage to the venue. Venues typically have a damage deposit in place, which they should, because those smaller amount claims aren't going to be covered. But if there's smoking areas, there's been fires that because people improperly disposed of a cigarette or something like that, large fire damages. There was one claim in particular where I forget the details exactly, but a big ornate chandelier was kind of the focal point of this venue. One way or another, again, alcohol involved. That chandelier came down thousands and thousands of dollars, but it was covered because there was an event policy in place. And what people don't realize is with event insurances, any insurance policy really, you don't get it hoping to use it, right? I mean, you don't get this like, all right, good, now I'm going to go cause wreak some havoc at the event so I can use this policy, but it's there for peace of mind, right? And so in the event that these things happen, you're not financially burdened. And throughout my time of over 8 years in the insurance industry, specifically with the event insurance, I've seen some wild claims, but thankfully, because there was a policy in place, and I'm talking claims that are over hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages, that people probably would have been struggling out to this day if they didn't have a policy to help them with it.
Yeah. I'm curious about the cancellation. I know you said, let's focus more on the liability side.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about the cancellation because that's been such a hot topic, obviously through COVID, but even now we run, 5 venues here in Southern California. And then, we're looking to build that outside of the US, outside of California.
Yes.
Soon maybe outside of the US, Steve. But I think we've seen kind of more smaller claims type stuff happen, but more commonly we're getting people who want to cancel or postpone. And we do have the cancellation policy where we're not refunding the deposit. I think that's pretty common across the board. How does cancellation insurance work though? Yeah,
so it started becoming a lot more relevant from COVID. Now, one thing I will note right up front is that COVID and pandemic related cancellations are not covered. And any cancellation policy that you find out in the market, there's an exclusion for it. But that's what spurred the idea of people starting to really realize the importance of it. But again, like I said, it's there to reimburse for those non-refundable deposits if it's canceled or postponed for things that are unforeseen, extreme weather. And being in California, I'm sure you can maybe relate to this, but wildfires are a big one that, as of late too, a lot of our venue partners have been asking and been concerned about. Shutdowns because of wildfires has been a big one, but hurricanes. I'm in South Carolina, and 2 days ago we just had a hurricane come through. And so extreme weather events like that, if you're more in the north, if there's a large catastrophic blizzard that shuts down towns and services, those type of weather events can be covered. But beyond that, accidents or illness in the family is a common one that comes up. Bride or groom or parents get sick, ill. I hate to say it, but death, if that comes up and you have to cancel or postpone, you're covered for that. Military deployment's a common one too. So if you're a military family and suddenly there's a deployment that you were not expecting, that can help. And then even more beyond that, vendors not showing up and things like that. So that's the main purpose of cancellation insurance. And like you said, you as venue owners, most of the time have a non-refundable clause in there saying something happens, we're keeping your money. Now COVID, and this is kind of what spurred the whole trend of it. Some venues tried playing the nice guy card and working with their clients to give money back during those cancellations. But unfortunately for a lot of them, they tried being helpful and it put them a little bit too far under. And a lot of venues from COVID cancellations are no longer in business. On the other hand, you're keeping your foot down, keeping the money that's rightfully yours. And now you're maybe getting bad reviews because you weren't being helpful. So what do? It's a double-edged sword and it's difficult to navigate. Well, cancellation insurance hopefully helps that. One, it gives that money back to your clients so that they're able to get their monies back. And then you are able to keep that money that's rightfully yours as a venue per your contract that you're owed and that you need for your operations so that you can keep that and stay successful as well. And so a lot of venues now are realizing like, oh, this is fantastic. And we do have some that with us that actually they require cancellation now because they've been bit in the butt a couple times from cancellations. They just don't want to deal with it. And so they require that package too now.
I'm curious about this. How much does something like cancellation insurance cost? And is it typically a cost that's passed on to the consumer, or is it something that the venue is taking on because they want to make sure that they have a policy in place in case they do have to, give a deposit to avoid a negative review? Who's kind of help me understand the layout?
Yeah. So we'll start with who is getting it. The policy always will be for the host or for the couple. So it's always going to be their policy. But some venues, because they know the importance of it and they want to make sure that it's there every single time. Some venue partners are starting to take that upon themselves and they just buy it for their clients. So they put in their contract like, hey, you're going to get a policy. It's going to be built into your costs. We're going to issue it for you once you sign this contract. So they make sure that, okay, I'm not even going to play any games here. I'm going to get you this policy every single time. Otherwise, and we'll get into our platform too a little bit. Our platform, very easy to use. So then couples, if the venue doesn't do it themselves, the couples and hosts can get it as well. But when we get to the cost wise, relatively inexpensive for really how much it's covering. If you're the cheapest policy starts at, for example, it's like $130 and it covers up to $7,500 of total deposits that you can be reimbursed for. And then it's incrementally increased from there. Now, typically, there's liability included as well. And when you buy them together, you get discounts, like kind of package deals. And so, for example, I think it was the average cost of a wedding this year or last year was like $30,000 across the entire United States.
Yeah.
If you're looking at $1 million liability policy with a $25,000 or $35,000 cancellation policy added together, it's like $300 or $350. So when you're spending $35,000, what's an additional $200-$300 to make sure that if something happens, you can get that money back?
Yeah. I see that as a huge value for venue owners, because even if you just rolled it into your contract, let's say that the venue owner just 100% absorbed the cost, just out of pocket, right? So it reduces the amount of income that you're going to be receiving, or profit, essentially. It'll chip into your profit, chip into your bottom line. However, you can go now and as a selling point to your customers say, hey, we have a refund policy. As long as it fits within a certain category, you're going to be getting your deposit back in case of cancellation.
Yeah. And then it just goes to show you as a venue owner too, that it's just a little bit more personability with your guests. Like, hey, I care about this for you too. And it kind of makes that connection even just a little bit stronger with your guys' clients, being like, hey, we're giving you this full protection to make sure that, that your day goes as well as possible.
Yeah. I'm curious, do insurance companies fund these policies, or is it very hard to actually get, because, with insurance, I know from me, when I was, teenager, first started driving, I got the cheapest insurance policy possible. And, something happened and there was an exclusion, or it wasn't covered. And so I want to, that might be a rude question to ask. So
no, it's fair.
I'm asking for the group.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fair. And insurance companies kind of get that rep sometimes of, possibly negative. Oh, they don't want to cover anything. But one thing you'll find out, and that's actually through our platform. So there's a handful of markets where you can get event insurance, just like any other type of policy, like auto insurance, home insurance. You can go get quotes from multiple different companies. We took our time and did our research, and we picked, in what is our opinion, the best policy that you can get that's out there for hosts, for couples, and also, in our opinion, the best coverage for venues too. Now, it's not the cheapest, and we don't promote it as the cheapest because, much like any other things, oftentimes lesser price, lesser quality. When it comes to insurance, that can often mean more exclusions, gaps in coverage, and things like that. So the company we use is actually the company that I used to work for, which is how I found Indemn, is Markel, and it's very competitive price-wise. And the policy itself, now, as someone who is not a insurance professional, they may appreciate this. The policy that we use through them is 9 pages long. So it's very short, to the point, no fine print, not a list full of exclusions. If you do look at other policies that are available in the market and you look at a policy, it's 50, 60, 70 pages long. Well, okay, I think that kind of speaks for itself. Is, there's a lot going on there, list of exclusions, difficult to read. And ambiguity potentially sometimes is never a favorable thing in insurance. And so we picked that program specifically because honestly, we think it's the best program for couples, for venues. They have good features in the policy that benefit venues as well as the primary coverage that they provide there. And so I will say that the company too that we use, very good reputation. They're highly rated. You may find articles on other competitors out there that there have been issues of them covering policies and things like that, but you really don't find those with Markel, which is why we like them. And they pass that test and they provide good quality service. And actually, I was just working with a couple who they actually filed a claim for their cancellation insurance policy, and they got paid, and very quick and easy. And so that good reputation, that's the service that we want to provide too. So
that's awesome. That's so cool. To give, again, kind of an uneducated person like myself an idea, like I have a decent idea about the process of insurance and everything, but I'm not an expert on it like you are, right? So
yeah.
I want to ask how, from what you've been saying, there's different layers. It sounds like there's, Indemn, I'm talking to you, I'm picking up the phone, I'm saying, hey, Mitchell, like, this is what I'm dealing with. I need to get this policy, whatever, or I have this new wedding venue, whatever. And then am I hearing you correctly? You're going and there's a bigger insurance company that's actually issuing the policy. So you're more like a broker. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yeah. We're technically an insurance agency. And we're technically like an insurtech. We have a fancy website, that platform that we operate through. But then, yes, we access the insurance carrier, which there's a handful of insurance carriers that have the policies. And then below them are companies like us, insurance agencies, brokers, and general agents that access the carriers to provide their policies to clients. And so we picked Markel ourselves. We could go out and branch out. We have access to other markets too, but for our primary focus through our platform and the ease of use, that's the carrier that we push through.
So I've been dying to ask this question, actually, and not just to you, but just like for the industry as a whole. So we have to cut this up, into some micro content. But I'm curious, from your perspective and just knowing the market, how does a venue owner or operator decide which insurance agency they want to work with if the agencies that are out there might be using the same carriers? How do we decide which agency we want to use with you or, whoever the other guys are out there in the market?
Of course. Yeah. So I'll kind of scale this back on more than just event insurance, but when you think about insurance just in general, even for your venue, property insurance, your own venue's liability insurance, business insurance, and things like that, really what it comes down to is you need to reach out to multiple sources to see, is this going to work for you? Because multiple agencies, like I said, just like we do, have access to multiple markets. And so when we're talking about, for example, like your venue insurance, it's always good to check with multiple sources because they're each going to possibly have different quote options for you, different policy types that some may work better for you than others. Some may be a better price. And so honestly, you don't just want to call one place and then stick with it. You want to check multiple sources to make sure that, everything's being met on what you want to have covered and price wise. Then furthermore, same with event insurance. We have a platform that makes it easy. And so you want to make sure you find a place that, is going to meet your needs, do what you want to do, and give that protection that, hopefully you're looking for. But definitely don't just call one place and make the deal at that. Even if you like it a lot, check those other sources to make sure that, truly you're getting everything that you could possibly think of or want for your business.
Totally fair. But I guess my question was more like, what features should we be looking for? Like, is it like, what features are we looking for from agencies? Because could this be accurate? Like, could I go with Indemn or could I go with another competitor of Indemn and get the same policy from the same carrier? Because both of those agencies are shopping the same market. Is that a possibility?
Potentially, yes. And so there's two aspects. There's policy, and then there's your overall service and relationship. And I think that's where we take our step above is this is more than just a business transaction with us. Any venue partner of Indemm's, and that's kind of the piece to our platform just in general, as well as we want to be that source. And so you have questions, we have answers. And if you want to pick up the phone and get something answered right away, if your couples want to call somebody to get something answered, that's what we're doing. And so it's definitely both. What policy am I getting? Sure. Can I maybe go to a different few routes that have the same policy? Okay, great. So I know if I go here, here, or here, I'm going to get a good policy. But beyond that, if I need something done, if I'm not sure of something that's going on, if I want an easier process in this aspect, okay, Indemn has that. I can reach out to them because I know they're going to answer my phone calls. I know that they're going to be responsive. They're going to put our needs first. And so it's that personal relationship as well that you should definitely appreciate and work, because I'm sure just as you'd have with other vendors. Many venues have a preferred vendor list, and I'm sure if any vendor is on there, you want to have a good relationship with. And so insurance should be the same thing. You should trust that source, have a good relationship with them, so that, just like any other relationship, that's good for your business.
That makes so much sense. I love that it comes back to service, right?
Yes.
Our industry is our industry, the wedding and events industry, is so focused around hospitality, and it's kind of that same thing. It sounds like that's how you guys are differentiating in terms of the type of customer service you're providing for venue owners now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because we know that venue owners, multiple hats, multiple different directions. Every single day have things going on, and insurance, while as important as it is and how beneficial it is for your business, people don't want to be spending all day thinking about it and documenting procedures for it. And so we just want to take that stress out of it and provide that service to you so that you can take your service and make it that much better for your clients.
Awesome. Very cool. Mitchell, I'm curious, just asking about Indemn and kind of where you're seeing the industry go. What does the future look like for event insurance? I know you said that it's becoming more popular to get the cancellation insurance. What other changes do you see happening? Maybe even as a result of AI, or kind of what other movement in the market do you see?
Yeah. So I think like the next biggest wave, like I said, is going to be an increase in cancellation insurance policies, just because there's a big benefit to it. It doesn't cost a lot. And venues are starting to realize, that yes, while it's a policy for their couples, it actually is a big saver for venues as well. I've spoken at some other seminars and led some other discussions at places that one common question that's come up that's been interesting, and it's kind of been on the back of my mind, and we'll see if perhaps Indemn is maybe a solution for it. But one thing in common that venue owners have often asked about when we talk about cancellation insurance is protection for the venues on cancellations when there's that remaining percentage that perhaps people still owe, but then they don't get because it's canceled. There's nothing out there currently for that type of protection. So like, let's say they give you a 50% deposit and they cancel a month beforehand, but they still have to owe the remaining 50%. Oftentimes venues never get that. And perhaps having coverage in there, because we've had multiple times venues come up and say, can I get coverage for that? Like, I want the money that I still need based on my contract that I'm planning for, but now I'm out of. So we may look into possibly creating a solution for that too, because it's definitely been a need that venue owners have brought to our attention on some that currently there's no solution for. So we'll see about that.
Very cool. Well, Mitchell, thank you so much for coming on today and chatting. I think the most interesting thing for me that I really learned more about was the cancellation insurance. And I think that sounds like such a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
For venue owners. Like you said, it's a protection to the couple. It's definitely a protection to the venue owner. And in today's uncertain market, like, you don't want to be guessing even on the venues that you have booked, because you've tried so hard to get those weddings booked. You've toured, you've done the follow-up process. Like, we want to make sure that you're taken care of, and so that's huge. And I appreciate what Indemm's doing to kind of solve that problem in the market.
Of course. Yeah. And just a little bit further, about our platform, like I said, quick and easy, and that's our goal is to help. And one thing we actually do for venues, if you're ever interested, and anyone else who's listening, is we take ours and make it even more tailored and personalized for your venues. So if you ever have a couple minutes, check out our site. What we can do further is we pre-fill all of your venue's requirements, making it quick and easy. And so it preloads everything. It guarantees the right requirements every single time. Then we automate that whole process too. Because like I said, you have a lot of other procedures going on as a venue owner. And the last thing you want to do is be chasing down documentation on insurance policies and things like that. And so we automate all that. And I think, we want to take that stress out of venue owners' hands. And so we completely free. All of our resources for venue owners are completely free. We'd love to do the same for anyone listening as well.
Totally. Well, and I want to ask a question to kind of dive in just a little bit deeper there before we wrap up today. The platform, is it set up so that you as a venue owner can purchase the insurance on behalf of the couple, as well as there's kind of a portal for the couple? So explain to me as a venue owner, great. someone books my wedding. Now what happens in terms of the insurance? Like, am I sending a link? Is it a landing page? Like what's
So it's a landing page. Any venue owner that wants to work with our platform will create a completely free landing page. It's a personalized experience. It says, hey, thanks for coming to our platform from your venue named X. And so it's displayed there. So they know they're coming here specifically for your clientele. And then it's so simple and easy to use. I would say the majority of our venue partners, they have their clients do it, their couples go through, but we do have a handful that they do it themselves, and they can use the same platform because it's really that simple. Less than 3 minutes, start to finish. You just need to enter in couple's name, email, phone number, pick their event date, and then what coverage they're going to go with. And really from there, it's finished. Once payment's made, to purchase the policy, we automatically email it out. We email it to the venue every single time right away as well. And so it's an overall, and on top of that, because it's the chat style feature, it's more engaging, it's more fresh and unique for people as well. And so yes, that whole entire process can be done either from the couple or from the venue owner. And either way, it's very simple and very automated.
That's incredible. I love that chat feature, that chat style, because I think people are getting used to that in terms of reaching out to support through chat. And so that is becoming a common interface. And so tying that into the insurance, it sounds huge. One more question I realized that I had as a part of this, when someone's going and filling that out, let's say a couple. So venue owner sends a link pops up. Hey, welcome to, XYZ venue, and it's branded, and they go in and they're putting in their information. What are some other things that they're having to answer? So you said date, you said personal information, date of the event. What other things are on that list?
Yeah. So honestly, for event insurance and for most events that venues have at their properties, it's not much more than that. It asks how many guests you're having. And then beyond that, there's one question to confirm that there's nothing crazy like firearms or weapons or amusement devices, or like petting zoos and animals and things like that. And then beyond that, it just asks if you want to list anybody else, because one question is typically if it's a couple that's getting the policy, perhaps one of the two will be filling out the application, and it will ask, do you want to list somebody else, like your partner or an involved parent? So we ask that. And then it asks, because the other cool part about event insurance is specifically for weddings, if you're having a ceremony at one location and a reception at another location, you can actually cover both on the same policy without needing to buy multiple policies. And so the final question is, are you having another event at a separate location if it's a wedding? That's it. And that's why I said the process start to finish is, I think, average through our platform about 3 minutes. Nice. For total start to finish wrap up and policy issue time.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited for people to check this out. We'll have links. And like you said, Mitchell, before we got started, for anyone listening or watching, we're going to have a link where you can go directly from this video to check out Indemn, and it'll be something you can see what they have. The website is indemn.ai. Yep. And I really appreciate you coming on here today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jonathan. And for you and anyone else listening, even if you don't use our platform, like I said, we just want to answer questions. We don't want this to be a confusing space for insurance, because it is very important and it shouldn't be difficult. So if you ever have questions, please email, text, reach out. Happy to answer anything that you might have, because we just want to make, like I said, this process easier for venues and their clients.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much, Mitchell. It was great chatting.
Thanks, Jonathan. All right. Appreciate it.